ceremonies, it's Natasha Teamstra, the ambulatory site director from the Alberta Children's Hospital.
Hi, everyone.
So welcome, and really looking forward to taking us through this afternoon's proceedings, and with an era celebration of all the work that you've accomplished for kids with feeding and eating issues across the province and their families. Just a notice to start, presentation is being recorded in video format by AHS. The recording may be used and disclosed by AHS for education.
Curtis, I think you need to unmute yourself. You got automatically muted.
Wow. Okay. It was enthralling. There's a notice of recording. We're recording this session, and this information could be stored, publicized, and webcasted. So you just need to know that. And hopefully you caught my introduction, and we'll proceed through this afternoon's proceedings. So thanks so much for participating today. We're thrilled to get back together for our fourth and final ILC. Once again, it's great to see all the numbers on the line, and that we'll have a really strong interprofessional representation across every zone today. So together we're making a difference, and we're excited to celebrate all that's been achieved since our ILC orientation a couple of years ago. As you know, the Peace Project really shows the power that we can be harnessed when all disciplines work together and are focused on the outcomes for patients and their families. So because this is our final ILC, in addition to celebrating success, we'll be gathering input from you on how to sustain the gains provincially. And we'll be working with each of your teams to develop a local sustainability plan. But there's more to come on that later. So next slide. Yeah, we begin by acknowledging that our work is conducted on the territories of Treaty 6, 7, and 8, and in the homeland of the Métis. We also acknowledge the many Indigenous communities that have been forged in urban centers across Alberta. We respect the treaties that were made on these territories, and we acknowledge the harms and mistakes of the past. And we dedicate ourselves to move forward in partnership with the Indigenous communities in the spirit of reconciliation and collaboration. So we have come such a long way together over the past couple of years, and it's important to take the time to reflect today on all that's been accomplished and start planning the next steps ahead for sustainability of the gains on behalf of children's families and your colleagues. The feedback we continue to receive from you is overwhelmingly positive. And while we know you're looking forward to today's session, we recognize there's lots of pressures and lots of other priorities that are competing for your attention and time. So I really want to thank you for being here, and thank you for dedicating this much time and this attention today. So we hope you can have peace of mind, and that your leaders and managers do support you being here. Truly, that's why we've accomplished so much. They have made time for you to attend and agree that pediatric feeding, eating, and swallowing is an important priority, and think that your participation is what will make the difference for the families that we serve. So after today's workshop, we will be sharing your reports and sustainability plans with operational leaders across the province, so they know the barriers and can champion your efforts. So I'd like to encourage you to take a moment to set aside any distractions and give yourself some permission to be here together. So if you want to grab your favorite fall beverage, I don't like to admit it, but it's a pumpkin spice latte for me. Usually sends me over the top, but silence your cell phones, close your email and any extra screens on your desktop. Perhaps jot some things down that are cluttering up your mind and nipping at your attention. Take a breath, stretch, relax. Maybe think of a family that you've interacted with over the course of the project that you've really seen a difference and the project has made for them. anything that you need to do to start a center on what we're doing today. And feel free to do this throughout the afternoon. So a few housekeeping items. Just take a minute to look at the controls that are available to you. Please ensure to mute your microphone when you're not speaking. And if you have comments or questions during the presentation, we welcome you to enter them in the chat box. When it's time to go to the breakout rooms, you'll be automatically slotted into a breakout room. And otherwise, you'll be prompted with a selection of available rooms to join at that time. But we'll get into that later during the latter half of the workshop. So the overall agenda today. First, I'll provide some updates about the PEAS project, and then we're going to hear an uplifting and inspiring family story. We'll be highlighting and celebrating success across the province and then moving into sustainability planning. Tracy Wasiluk will talk about how to practically plan for successful sustainability beyond the life of the project. Then we'll break everyone into some small groups and get your input about what you need at a provincial level to ensure that you have the support you need to sustain the gains we've made so far. We'll take a 10-minute break, come back and hear the common themes from the breakout sessions, and use Mentimeter to poll everyone on some key questions. So have your phones handy. Then we'll have a team breakout to work on your local sustainability plans and conclude by coming back together as a large group to share and learn from one another. So over the last few months, PEAS has continued adding new content to their website. We're excited to be able to offer family peer mentorship across the province. There were a dozen peer mentors available, and you can find more information about this from your team lead and the PEAS website. We even have the privilege of hearing from one of those peer mentors today. We added more resources on how families can create a care map to help with communication with people involved with their child's care. We posted 2 new handouts, helping your child learn to bite and chew and learning to drink from a cup. The tube feeding care plan is now a fillable PDF for clinicians and families to use and regularly update. We're also working with Connect Care to build an electronic format. There's a webinar update. I know the teams at Alberta Children's, Blurview, and the Glenrose have worked together to determine what would be a great presentation or 2 for our group here. And part 1 will be October 26th on autism and feeding, and there'll be a part 2 on November 2nd. The times are yet to be determined, so watch your inbox and we'll push that to you as soon as we can. We're also working on a couple of provincial videos, tips for success, getting through mealtime struggles, and home blended feeding. And thank you to the many teams behind the scenes pulling these together. And last but not least, we're really excited to share with you a new 2-minute video to introduce families to the PEAS website. You're the first audience that will see this video, and we hope you enjoy it and have a chance to share it with families that would benefit from all that the PEAS website has to offer.
Sarah is worried about her child's eating. It's not going well, and she's concerned that her little one isn't thriving. Problems with eating, feeding, and swallowing are new to Sarah. She doesn't know where to find help, or even if she should really be worried. Sarah heard about the AHS PEAS website on social media, all about pediatric eating and swallowing. Right away, Sarah sees that PEAS has a lot of useful information. And because AHS is a reliable source, Sarah feels hopeful that this will help her figure out where to start. Feeding is a struggle for Sarah and her child. Sarah starts by clicking the screening questionnaire. It doesn't offer a diagnosis, but it helps Sarah understand what's typical for her child's age, and that contacting a care provider might be a good idea. In the meantime, Sarah sees there's more to dig into on the PEAS website. There's an equipment list that's easy to filter by age and needs. The oral feeding and tube feeding sections have some useful resources. The Family Life and Self-Care page shows Sarah that she's not alone in her concerns, and there is support for her and other caregivers. It's clear that there are many professionals who can help with eating, feeding, and swallowing, and that moving forward, there will be a team to support her. Sarah is ready to figure out next steps. Sarah was feeling worried about her child's problems with eating. The AHSP's website has empowered her to start looking for the help they need and has good information to share with her family doctor. Thanks to the P's website, Sarah knows she and her child are not alone.
Excellent, incredible video. But let us know what you think in the comments. We're also working on a short video to orient healthcare providers to the P's website, and we plan to launch that along with some updates to the P's website next month. And anybody that's joining late, I did not dress up like a leprechaun today. Natasha and I are co-hosting, and this is our celebration, our ILC number 4 celebration. So welcome. But on to our patient family story. So throughout the PEDS project, we've been hearing from families so that we're centered on the work that we do. So to start every meeting, we always invite a family to speak and about their experience, asking them to share their successes and challenges and how we can improve. These stories help to ground us and help us remember why we're all here. So today we're very privileged to have Carla Lumding from Grand Prairie here to share her inspiring story about her daughter, Aria.
There's definitely a lot of messages, and we'll let you continue to read those, Carla, but we are really, really grateful for that. Thank you so much for sharing your story with us. It's really incredible to see the growth in Aria over the years and those changes. A couple of weeks ago, I had the opportunity to actually travel up to Grand Prairie, and one of the things that really struck me is the incredible sense of community there. You can see that in your family and the healthcare providers that surrounded you, and it's really incredible that you're volunteering as a peer mentor for us too. We're so grateful for your commitment to give back and help us out and to share that sense of community. So thank you.
Thanks so much, Natasha.
I don't see any specific questions, but I will let you answer them along the way, Carla. I'm just double checking that I'm not missing anything, but mostly just thank yous and amazings, and really grateful for you. All right. So we're going to change gears a little bit, and the real reason that Curtis and I are dressed up a little ridiculously and trying to pretend like we're the Oscars or the Academy Awards or whatever award ceremony you want to comment on. So we are here to celebrate some of the great successes over the past 2 years, and so it is time to roll out our red carpet. So let's start with our drum roll. There's a lot of information on this slide for sure, but this has been some of our key performance indicators over the past few years and the 6 dimensions of quality. Of course, you see along the bottom that there's the arrows indicating whether you want the measure to go up or down, so that helps to set the stage. But it's really, really neat to see that 4 out of our 8 indicators have improved and actually have a significant improvement through our measurements. And none of these have worsened at all. And you can actually see that all of them are actually headed in the right direction. So even if they're not a significant improvement, you actually can still see that they're headed in the right direction. And that's pretty incredible to see. So we know that we're moving the dial and families are noticing and benefiting. And it's clear that there's still some opportunities that we can still improve on, and which is why we want to make sure everybody comes away today with a really great sustainability plan so that we keep up this momentum and we continue to make improvements along the way. So We are going to do some acknowledgements to all of our teams and a little bit of an awards ceremony. We've noticed all of the effort, and I don't think that anybody can minimize the amount of work and energy that's gone into this. And we're really, really proud of that. And so we're announcing some special awards for each team. So the first recognition is our Families First Award. Central Zone, you can feel pretty impressed that 97% of your families.
What's up next there, Vanessa? There's a decrease from 31 to 11% ED visits. And that goes to the Children's Hospital Eating, Feeding, and Swallowing team. 30% decrease. Well done, well done.
The next group is around Interprovincial Collaboration Award. Huge kudos for these teams to work together to streamline services and make care equitable across the province. They even made their names the same.
You're the first to reach effectiveness level of 10. And the winner is Scholarly Eating, Feeding, Swallowing, Aspiration, and Oral Justice Club.
Seeing the biggest decrease in hospitalizations, decreasing from 60% to 23%. We have our ACH Airway Clinic.
Gritty pioneers, always finding ways to get the job done, show up and contribute to the ILCs and high quality patient care. The winner is North Zone General Team. Well done, well done.
All right. Now, the award for innovation and creativity, I think it speaks for itself. Our Calgary Peds Home Care Team.
So biggest improvement in routine assessment wait times. The winner is ACH Early Childhood Rehab Team with a 25% improvement.
Acknowledging a huge amount of interprofessional collaboration and teamwork, we have our Collaborative Team Spirit Award. And that goes to the Glenrose Rehab Hospital team.
Our Safety Award goes to the Grand Prairie team for the lowest combined ER and hospitalizations. ER visits and hospitalizations.
All right. And recognizing the importance of a care plan. Who had the most families who know that they have a detailed care plan? And that goes to Medicine Hat Regional Hospital team, 92%.
Importance goal. Who's goal oriented? Using the goal wheel consistently. Winner is Calgary Pediatric Community Rehab.
And the high soarers, which have the highest balanced scorecard total. The winner is the Calgary Rural Pediatric Allied Health team.
The Fast Track Award. They met accessibility targets 100% of the time. Winner is Southwest Eating, Feeding, and Swallowing team.
Very impressive. One of the comments I saw in the chat box along the way was from Mark. It's so amazing to think of all of the improved outcomes for the families that have benefited from all of these improvements all the way across the province. So huge thank you to everyone, and make sure you acknowledge the work that you've done. With that in mind, we are also quite happy to share that we are planning a virtual luncheon and celebration this winter. More details will come, but we're going to share our final evaluation results, compile our sustainability plans based on the work that we do today, and take another moment just to celebrate and close out this project formally. So more info will come. All right. So now we actually have to get down to some work here. I think everyone here knows Tracy Wasilek. We've had the privilege of working with her over the past 2 years as part of this project, and she's developed all of our scorecard methodologies and working with the strategic clinical networks along the way. So we're super excited to have you back, Tracy, and thank you for your time. You know, at the end of the day, this is all about how we make this this improvement and these projects continue, and how we continue to have that culture of innovation. And so that is one of her areas of specialty. And so I'm going to hand it over to her to talk about sustainability.
Thanks, Natasha. I love your costume, and I just want to say congratulations to all the teams. I was really impressed, and I love the applause. Vanessa, you did a great job, and I hope you all feel special that in many ways you've made such an impact on Albertans and the positive stories that people will tell. Positive story we heard today, and probably many other positive stories as a result of your work. And so if you can go to the next slide, the goal for me today is to talk a little bit about sustainability. So you've invested 2 years of time and energy and commitment to this work, and the question is, how do we sustain the change? How do we make all of those efforts stick? And one of the hardest things that health systems grapple with is sustainability of the efforts that many pilot projects and change efforts get out of the gate and do very, very well. And then it's like, okay, well, how do we maintain the gain? And so as part of the collaborative methodology over the last 12 years, we've been learning about sustainability methods that help make it stick and some tools and solutions that you can adopt so that the work that you've done becomes business as usual. So first of all, some people use the word sustainment or sustainability. I put both in there, so whatever you're comfortable with. But really it means taking the change behaviors or the evidence-based interventions that you have been working on and sustaining the gains from those. So if you, for the team that got a 30% reduction in ED visits, well, how do you keep it at 30% less people going to emergency departments, and or maybe even pushing that number down to 35 or 40%. But the one thing that I think I said to you in other collaboratives is better has no limits. So if you do feel that you want to push the envelope, still think there's room for improvement, the sustainability plan doesn't prevent you from doing that. It allows you to do that. And part of what creates the chances of sustainable gain is that you plan for it. And so we've searched the world around what other health systems are doing around sustainability. There's many different guides that have been used. And we hope today to impart some strategies and tools for you to think about for sustainability in your environment. And the sustainability planning that goes on feels a lot like we're doing in the implementation planning. They have many of the same components. But as you know, when you're doing a learning collaborative, it's a very intensive, there's a lot of intense work that's going on across many dimensions of health. And today you're going to maybe pick a few where you're going to pay attention to. So if the planning is the same, the intensity is slightly different. And we'll go through that a little bit. So next slide. So just to give you a visual, keeping the P's theme in mind, just remind yourself of where you came from and where you are today. So in November of 2020, you started with building your charters, creating your scorecards and thinking about some action plans to really, so planting the seeds and thinking about how do you water them, nurture them so that they grow. And then you can see that we've had several ILC events over 2021 and 2022. And some of the focus areas that you worked on that were issues that were identified by the teams included sending family surveys, trying to think about care paths, care planning for patients and families, understanding the impact of those care plans. When we brought you together, we asked you to review your scorecards. Where had you seen improvement? Where had you not? And then adjust your action plans based on A, areas you wanted to focus in on, and B, learnings from other teams that had actually achieved the objectives. So stealing shamelessly to add to your action plan. There's obviously you've been receiving monthly data on your performance, and there's been several webinars that have been conducted in order, again, to foster education, learning, and continually to help you get better in your pursuits. So here we are in September 2022, and we want to keep the gains going. We want to keep watering this plant so it doesn't die, it doesn't dwindle in any way, shape, or form. And the best way to do that, next slide, is to actually be very purposeful in how you think about sustainability. The Pediatric Eating and Swallowing Sustainability Guide is actually adapted from the Health Quality Ontario Sustainability Planner. And we have borrowed that and brought it into the networks, and we've applied this planning guide to other major initiatives across the province. And we actually know it's working because the teams that have used a guide of this nature are still holding the gains. The most recent one was our delirium project across 22 ICUs across the province. They implemented a series of bundles to prevent to manage and prevent delirium in the ICU. And 5 years later, they're still holding the gains of that work. So we think the guide is a very useful way for you to think about sustainability planning in your environment. Next slide, please. And while that's coming up, I just want to remind you, you can go into the literature. There's many different guides out there. NHS has one. There's some from other jurisdictions in the world. We chose this one, A, because it was Canadian, and B, it was the simplest. It was the simplest tool that we felt was the easiest for us to apply in our environments. And there are 7 steps. These are the 7 steps. And they're all listed in the guide, but I just want to go through a couple of them and just reinforce some of the key ideas. Next slide. So, back up. Yeah. So really clarifying what you're sustaining. So you all have balanced scorecards, and you can look at those scorecards, and there's probably several areas where you've hit it out of the park and you've achieved your objectives, and you feel your team may feel, you know, we have made this objective part of our business, so we don't need to focus in on that area. But the trick for you, next slide, is to go into that scorecard and look at the dimensions of quality and the performance indicators that you've chosen. And from a sustainability perspective, look at the ones where you still think you want to pay attention to. Maybe you think they're at risk for slipping, and therefore you want to continue to pay attention to them. Or maybe you just feel like as a team, boy, we could get a little bit better, and therefore we should really try and manage this sustainability. So use the scorecard as your North Star as to where do you want to work and focus your attention. Next slide. The other thing that is really important is you've had a lot of people and maybe the team really engaged in the learning collaborative, but when you think about the areas where you still want to hold the gains, you are going to have to engage leaders, not only the informal leaders that have continued to be passionate about this work in your unit, but also leaders in your organization who you feel you could continue to show them the improvement and the not only the improvement, but that you're holding the improvement from the last 2 years. It's really important in this process to identify who they are and stay attuned and connected to them. Because if you get a bit of slippage and you want to get back to where you were, they may be able to remove some barriers or help you with that process. Next slide. Involve the staff. You guys have always been involved in your frontline staff, and they have been part of your co-design team for how do we go from the performance we have today to the performance we want to get to. And so my thinking and my belief and the network belief is when you build the sustainability piece, it's not on the shoulders of the manager to write this out. This is the team committing to what do you want to hold the gain to, and how do we as a team hold ourselves accountable to those sustainability goals. So this is still a team effort. Next slide. Sometimes, but at this cycle, you're 2 years in, and especially since many of you are feeling the effects of COVID, the burnout, the pressures, the changes in the way you've had to deliver care. Sometimes we forget that we need to continue to remind people of the benefit of what we've done and why we need to continue to support this effort. And in my mind, this is the easiest job, because when you listen to those patient stories, the stories that we've heard from all of the learning collaboratives about the impact you're having for patients and families and their ability to manage eating and swallowing issues with their babies, and the role of your teams in helping them to coordinate and integrate care. That's an easy story to tell, and it's an important one to continue to reinforce so that people understand that we have achieved better patient care, and we want to continue to hold ourselves to that goal. So think about easy ways to do that communication. Next slide. And then obviously be really thoughtful about the change strategy that's been trialed and is it ready? So some things that you have tried over these past year where, yeah, they didn't work very well. Well, that's not the thing to sustain. What you might want to do is go back and say, why didn't that work? Maybe we should try something else. Conversely, why did it work? And then how do we bake that into day-to-day workflows? So people are busy, you have lots of competing interests. So you want to make sure that the behavior that you've wanted to change has an intervention that actually successfully makes that change happen. And that's where having a dialogue with your team, I think, is a really robust way to make sure that you're solving a root cause and not putting a Band-Aid on something. And that root cause is being changed to hold the gain of the performance you want to aspire to. Next slide. So I've talked about building this into the workflow. It's really, there's behaviors that change with clinicians in order to get the gains. There's many processes as well that go along with those activities. And so you need to be thoughtful about making sure that the process is also embedded in your workflows, because if you embed it, it makes it easy to do the right thing. And it's especially as we move into Connect Care, one of the things we've been really deliberate about is making sure the workflows within Connect Care match the processes that we want to follow in order to hold ourselves to achieving the performance metrics that are important to us and important to our patients and families. Next slide. And then this last step is building in ongoing measurement. You manage what you measure. You guys have heard that before. You also need to know that if you have communicated to people why it's important, you will want to be able to show them what they have been able to accomplish and what they've been able to sustain. So maybe having, there's two types of measurement. Measurement shows, you know, hey, here's what our baseline high performance is, and we even got better. Or, hey, look at this, it's been 7 months and we have held our performance at this level. Congratulations. So measurement doesn't have to always be incremental improvement. It can be demonstration that you guys are doing what you've committed to do, and you've got consistency and reliability in that. And so it's important for staff to see that, because it makes you feel good about, oh, wow, we are making a difference. But that measurement, those, maybe you have a couple of performance measures, those are really important to share on the unit. I've seen in some of the collaboratives, people put their performance right on a bulletin board so that when patients and families and people walk onto their unit, they see it. If you have a collaborative workspace that's virtual, you show it, and you show your leadership team how you're doing, because nothing motivates us more to hold the gain than positive reinforcement that we're doing a good job. Next slide. So for today, as I indicated in my early slide, we are here, and our goal in September 22 is to start to think about which of these metrics which of these metrics are important for us to sustain. And we're going to spend some time focused on that today, doing some sustainability planning in small groups, and also hearing a little bit more further today about how you as a collective group want to sustain your community, your ongoing learning, and the opportunities to collaborate as a provincial health system. So I'm really excited for you today. I hope you'll find this to be a welcome and fun afternoon. And with that, maybe I'll just open it up, see if people have questions and comments. And if not, we'll move on to getting you organized to do the next piece of work. Are there any questions or comments or concerns about sustainability? You guys think this will be easy, hard? Are you worried about it?
Hard, but up for the challenge.
I like it. Well, you know what? It is different and it can be hard, but once you do a good cycle with it, you will find that it's actually not as hard as it sounds. But it's a bit daunting when you think, oh, I've been 2 years at this. You're telling me I have to do more work. So I appreciate that for sure.
All right, thank you so much, Tracy, and really appreciate that overview and the focus near the end there on data and sharing the data. It's so vital to keeping us and motivated to sustain the change. So now we'll get into some hands-on sustainability planning with each of your teams in the latter portion of today's workshop. But first, you're probably wondering what will happen to the PEDS project and all the great tools and resources now that our ILCs are coming to a close. So I'll talk about that at a high level, and then we'll break into some small groups to get your input and about what you want and need from PEDS to be successful moving forward as we sustain the gains. First, we have to do some rough plans to share with you at this time, and we'll continue to consult with you and your leaders as we pull together our overarching sustainability plan at a provincial level. So going forwards, PEDS will continue to update the website and the clinical practice guide and tools in a timely fashion. However, this is going to be less frequent than we've done previously. At this time, in the final ILC, we know it's still important to provide a provincial forum for you to meet and connect. So during today's breakout sessions, we want to hear from you about what would make a meaningful provincial community practice, one that would work and one that you'd want to participate and contribute to. And given that we're no longer hosting the ILCs, we will discontinue providing the balanced scorecards. However, as Tracy touched on, it's important for teams to have ways to measure their outcomes. So we're going to explore ways to provide regular reports, such as using the rehab model of care surveys to gather family and patient data from our inpatient allied health team's work. And we'll continue to explore the PEDS family surveys with medical teams that want to carry on with those. We can also look into reporting tools in Connect Care or other ways to extract data that's meaningful to your teams. So PEDS, the PEDS project still has grant funding until June 2023, and we'll be continuing to pull together a monthly webinar for professional development. We touched on that earlier. We are gathering your feedback today and from your small groups to help determine what that will look like beyond the life of the project. So we're not going anywhere just yet. We're just getting ready to transition to the responsibility to operations at a provincial level. So in terms of our next steps, we're going to analyze feedbacks from today's ILC. We're going to survey providers and host focus groups with families and healthcare providers to evaluate the project. We're going to draft a provincial sustainability plan. We're going to share plans during the provincial virtual celebration and luncheon. We're going to start transitioning to operations, including starting a community of practice. And we're going to publish a final closeout report, which we'll share with you. So in order to successfully transition to operations and sustain the gains provincially and locally, what we'll need from you and your leaders, some things that are really obvious to you: regular team meetings and a commitment to interprofessional teamwork, which you've demonstrated throughout the project, and a continued focus on quality improvement. Develop, maintain your sustainability plans, and continue to provide high quality care using the tools that we've developed, such as the goal wheel, the care plans, and the clinical practice guide. We need you to be actively participated in the community of practice, and please provide your honest feedback when you have the chance in the focus groups and provider surveys. So now we've touched on what PEDS is committed to providing. We want to hear from you about your input and we'll be hosting a virtual World Café brainstorming session. And I'm going to hand it over to Tracy to describe that activity.
Thanks, Curtis. And I was remiss, I didn't compliment you on your very, very nice tuxedo costume.
Oh,
I love
thank
it.
you. Thank
I
you.
love it. I may need to borrow it one Halloween.
Okay, sure. Let me know. It's available.
Okay. So some of you have probably been involved in world cafes in the past, but a world cafe is really an innovative way of us to generate brainstorming with a group of people in a rapid fire way. So what we're going to do is we have 4 topic areas, and each person will have a chance to provide some feedback on these topic areas. On 2 of the 4 topic areas, because there's so many participants and we only have so much time, we can't get all 100 of you through it, but we will get you through 2 of the 4. And obviously, in order to do this in an organized way, we're going to have breakout rooms, a total of 8 breakout rooms. So what's going to happen is you'll spend 10 minutes on 2 different topic areas and breakout groups. And what we're going to do is the unique part about this is it's free flowing. There's no right or wrong answers. You're going to respond. And we're going to record all the things that you think about related to these topics. When you go to your second group, you're going to already see what people wrote down. And so you'll take a bit of time to say, oh, okay, this is what the previous group thought of. And then the goal is to add to that. Well, maybe clarify or add or expand on the concepts that are on that whiteboard. And then what we're going to do after that later today is we're going to be able to bring back all of your suggestions and ideas. And then we're going to spend some time as a big group kind of prioritizing what are the most important elements that come from these areas that you've identified. And then how can we structure a bit of a sustainability plan around this moving forward. So with that, I think we're going to start to get you into small groups. And I think Jayton, our wizard, is going to help us do that.
Oh yeah, actually, Jillian will be the wizard in this one, and then we'll have Jayton come in with the summary. So
okay, now I think in round 1 it's a random assignment, and then when we tell you it's time to switch, you'll then get a chance to choose a room, and hopefully we can distribute across the rooms. And if you're unable, you guys, to get into a room, there's a button at the bottom that you can ask for help or come back to the main room, and then we can reroute you back into a breakout room. And then after the second round, we're going to all come back to the main room and do a summary and discussion, and we'll debrief. So I think now is the next slide.
Yeah.
I think there's one more slide before we break out.
That's right.
So just a few ideas. So some people get all stifled and concerned, first of all, no idea is a bad idea. This is this is a way of, contributing to the community, thinking about these areas and how they really may help you with your sustainability planning and your continued learning around improving, eating and swallowing in our pediatric population. So listen to others, contribute, make sure everyone has an opportunity to talk, and there may be opportunities to lump ideas together. And remember, collaboration it's not about just your idea or the other person's idea. It's how your idea and the other person's idea generates a new idea that really gets us to a better place. So have fun, enjoy the exercise, and I look forward to hearing all the great ideas that you guys are going to generate over the next 35 or 45 minutes.
So the first question is open, and this is more of a trial. Vanessa, I thought I might have to read the question, but it seems like everyone is ready.
Oh, they know. They're ready. They're loaded.
Because we've had time to cheat.
Okay.
So we have about 88 participants, and just 60 have voted. So there are 60 still who are kind of figuring it out. Okay, so are you all familiar with Mentimeter? And looks like 4 Ps is the majority here. Sorry, I should do the bar graph. It's much easier. Okay, Vanessa, ready to go to the next set?
You bet. And it is, in fact, 4 Ps. Good job.
Okay.
Are there actually 4 peas in our little green pea pod?
You bet there are.
Are there? Maybe I lost one. Because mine only has 3.
Oh, you're talking about the keychains.
Yeah. Isn't that what we're talking about?
I think we're talking, you know
You
what?
said
You're
the
both right.
peas pod, which has 3.
Yes, I think we were thinking our little graphic kind of logo. Very cute.
Well, just goes to show you that it is clearly the way you word a question matters.
You bet.
Anyway, so one of the things we're showing you now is what is the purpose of a community of practice. And I think the first topic, Jayton, I think, could we show the, it looks like people are adding in their thoughts, but before we go to that, here's some of the feedback that we received from all of you around the community of practice, things, both the whiteboard and some of the ideas. You can see that the purpose, the audience, leadership, resource needs, format, frequency, duration, and communication were some of the areas that we wanted to quiz you on. And so it looks like we got a lot of really good information around the purpose, you know, that it's opportunity for pertinent teaching of specific topic areas. It's like a grand rounds. We can bring invited speakers. It'll allow us to highlight the most recent and latest research in the area, ongoing education and continuing education and problem solving. It's an opportunity to maybe highlight some really complex cases that teams can learn from. And again, ideas, quality improvement discussion for opportunities for improvement. It sounds like everyone thinks that a multidisciplinary approach with breakout sessions to make it, you know, active and meaningful makes sense. We want to see representation from across the province, from frontline to leadership, making sure that all the multiple groups that participate in supporting patients who have eating and swallowing disorders are included. It probably needs a chairperson and some support for practice and education. And oh, interesting, supports for families and clinicians in rural areas, really important because there's not the same resource capability across the province. So thinking about that from a rural, remote, and an urban perspective. Teams in Zoom, monthly or every second month, 60 to 90 minutes, and record the presentations, and really email invitees and promote evidence-based practices. So that's kind of what you had happened. Laura and Bobbin, thank you so much for facilitating. Is there any concepts that I have missed? If not, let's go then to the Mentimeter question around this topic area. Jayton, I think you've already put the question up. What is the purpose? And in this one, we want you to be able to, we want you to be able to put a word in there that speaks to that community of practice. I see collaboration, learning, education, connecting, sharing, mentorship, education. They're all strong words, best practice. And as more and more of you participate, we can see that common practice arena, sharing information. All themes that are really critically important. Well, only some of you have voted, so we'll let more of you fill in what you think is important of community of practice, because I think one of the things that we'll want to do moving forward beyond today is to think about how do we set it up, and then what are the important elements and components that we need to bake into that community of practice. And so I think mentorship, learning, collaboration, education, best practice, and support, sharing, connecting, seem to be some of the most important elements that we'll need to think about as we design that community of practice. There's a few of you that still haven't voted, so I just want to make sure that if you want to participate and you're not sure, just go into the text box, and there is a link there that you can click on, and you can enter a word or you can add to words. So you have options to you have opportunities to add up to 3 words. Okay. I think, see a few more. Got just about 66 responses of 88. So I think we're getting pretty close to saturation. Can we go to the next? So in relation to the community of practice, and I already summarized this, how often should we host a COP? And everyone can now vote.
Tracy, it's Patty. I'll add in that my team on community of practice had a great conversation about the thrice a year concept of quarterly with summers off. And that was a bit of a popular suggestion.
Patty, thanks for that. So basically quarterly, but nothing in the summer. Did I summarize that properly?
Yes, that was the idea folks got excited about.
Yeah. So in essence, it wouldn't quite be quarterly. It would be quarterly in 3 quarters. So maybe one in May and one in September, and yes, that sort of thing. Now, Patty, was there any discussion or concern that quarterly people might lose interest?
No, and in the opposite, the conversation was that if we had it too frequently, it wouldn't be realistic or accessible for folks, and that quarterly was actually the minimum of what folks suggested. Others suggested biannually, but that was the most frequent people were in favor of.
All right.
Oh, and it's Laura. In our group, there was some discussion around kind of frequency that might change over time. And so maybe more frequent initially and then less frequent once practice is a little more consistent.
Yeah, that kind of makes sense to me. More frequent earlier on, so you keep the enthusiasm going and people's interests, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Excellent. Well, looks like we've got, I think quarterly seems to, like Laura and Patty, you're right. Seems like people really enjoy the quarterly, with the proviso that maybe maybe for the first couple, just to get ourselves warmed up, we might have one every a little bit earlier than quarter, just to get people organized and comfortable with the concept of a community of practice. We'll leave those comments for the coordinating team to think about. All right, can we go to topic 3? Or the 3 question? Would you use an online COP in addition to regular additional meetings? So when we think about an online community of practice, so people were thinking, would SharePort also, did we want to keep a community of practice, sort of a knowledge management capability? And there's a comment in the text box that says, so many communities of practice within AHS for various areas. For those who don't just work with feeding clients, less often makes sense to support regular attendance so that people can attend other communities or practice for other stuff. There's only so much time that can be pulled out of client care for learning and collaboration. Denise, really good point. So that way, you know that if you overwhelm people, they won't attend. But if you have the right sequencing, chances are people will have the time and space to do so. So thank you for that. That's a really important comment to for us to be mindful of, because all of you in multidisciplinary teams take care of many different types of patients, and therefore your learning interests are probably more diverse than just P's. So on the community of practice, that's the SharePoint site, you guys have spent 2 years using a SharePoint site, so I think you're familiar with it. There's obviously some real benefits. It's a repository for sharing resources. You can upload links with upcoming events and opportunities. So it sounds like there is some interest in keeping a SharePoint knowledge mobilization capacity and capability in concert with the community of practice. All right. Yeah, I agree. It is a really nice, convenient place for housing materials. Some of them are agendas and minutes and whatnot. The other is some of the important evidence-based, either literature or papers, or even keeping your scorecards going. It's nice to have a centralized place to do that. So it looks like there's some that are maybe not sure. And some that think it would be a good idea. So I think that's let's jump on to the next one. The next question, please, Jayton. If your team were to receive a regular quality improvement report, what would you want to know? So I think this is related to when you guys think about your sustainability cards, or your sustainability planning, there may be 1 or 2 metrics that you want to continue to monitor. So our thinking is, would it be helpful to continue to, if there are several teams with those metrics, would it make sense that we share them? And how, what would be helpful to you? So it sounds like, what would you want to know? Whatever we share, it needs to be meaningful, family feedback, data regarding key performance indicators, family satisfaction. Excellent. Okay. So Jayton, it looks like we're getting a fair amount of responses, but family satisfaction and effectiveness and feedback seem to be some of the prevailing thoughts. So that's really, really helpful. I know we're running a little bit behind and we have a couple of questions yet to get through. So with that, Jayton, I think we should, I'm just looking at.
There are about 2 more people who are about typing. So you have about 30 seconds.
Yeah, we'll give you guys 30 more seconds, and then we only have 2 other questions. I think they're relatively simple. And so thank you so much, you guys, for your participation. This is great.
Okay, I'm moving on to the next question.
Great. So the next question is content. Are you motivated by seeing survey results and reports? And this is a really simple one, hopefully. Well, we see, obviously, there's people that, yes, it is motivating, some somewhat, and others no. So that's it just goes to show you that when you're thinking about sustainability and measurement, we have to think about different ways of providing information and feedback so that it meets the needs of our teams. And since we're not all identical and there's diversity in what motivates us, it's important as leaders building out your sustainability plans that you think of multimodal ways of providing survey results, feedback, and what and how reports look, so that we can meet the diversity of our teams. And then finally, as people are just finishing that up, I have 2 minutes to go to this final question is, how often do you want to see these results? Now, we want a community practice quarterly. Do we want reporting quarterly? What do people think? Well, it looks like reporting and community of practice are, the frequency seems to be fairly identical. And maybe the proviso will be that if we're reporting frequently, then we report with the COP frequency and we don't get a report in the summer, as Patty had indicated, and Laura, that it might mirror this a similar approach. All right, well, listen, thank you so much, everybody. These have been really helpful questions. I know the project team leads are going to find this very valuable in designing the next steps. And with that, what resources need to be updated? Pardon me, I have one more question.
Yeah, actually, there were a bunch of questions kind of tucked in. I think we tried to do 3 per topic. So we might just want to cherry pick the ones that you want to do, or we can send them out as a separate survey later and collate that with the World Café results.
Yeah, maybe what we should do is, if there's any, what we could do is, how many more questions do we have? Sorry, I was
6 more.
Slides. Oh, 6 more. I was going by my slides and that was my last one, so my bad. Maybe those 6 questions could be, we could send them out as part of the survey.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I think we've got some really fantastic feedback so far, and I do hope you guys have had fun using the Mentimeter, and thank you for your active participation. We're going to have to move on to the small groups. So when this question is done, we will turn it over to Vanessa again. I hope you like the Mentimeter. I quite like it because people get to see right away what others are thinking about. So I find it really helpful. And thank you for participating in the World Café and the great ideas. And now to the small group sustainability planning.
Awesome, thanks.
Thanks so much, Tracy. Really appreciate it. And I do think that it's really good to see that immediate feedback, and helps other people get ideas and starts to build on where we go from here. And of course, will help to inform our plan along the way. So as was mentioned, the next kind of set of things that we're out to do is to actually meet with our own small groups and to work through your own individual sustainability plans with your teams. So we are going to review our scorecards. And then we are going to create your own sustainability plan. And then you'll have 10 minutes. We'll give you a 10-minute warning. And you can prepare a bit of a report out to the rest of the group so that we can share with everybody what our sustainability plan is and how we can all hold each other accountable. So there's a lot of resources on the SharePoint and some QI resources that you can access now and, of course, in the future as you continue on with this work. So as Tracy walked through all of these steps, you'll be working with your facilitators to identify your actual practical plan so that you can incorporate all of these steps into your own sustainability guide. So we'll walk through all of those with your group leaders. And then by the end, you're going to be reporting out and sharing with the larger group the 1 or 2 key things that you're going to be working on. And so in those last 10 minutes as a group, please come to a little bit of an agreement upon what you're going to present as your top 2 activities moving forward. And then you're kind of thinking about what you're going to take back to the leadership group or those that the rest of your team that's not necessarily here today. And then also, of course, talking about when your next team meeting is and how you're going to set up that schedule. So these are our teams. I think we know them by now. We're pretty well versed in this. And so as always, there's some groups that are grouped by zone, some by site, some with a couple of service groups together. So you're going to select your own room to join. And if you can't select a room, then we will help and manually facilitate getting you into the rooms that you need to be, just like we did last time around. We're also, I just want to take a second and say thank you to all of our facilitators. They put a ton of work and effort into this and making sure that we have all of the information that we need ready to go and are bringing it all together. And the cool part is it's from across the entire province, across all of the disciplines, and all coming together for the same thing. So each team has a team lead who will prepare the report out and will kind of coordinate the team to meet regularly and finish up your sustainability plans. You can always ask for help. I think you figured out already that Jillian and Vanessa know all of the things here to get us organized and can answer pretty much any question we might have. So they are available. And then, of course, the ground rules. So we're only as good as the amount of effort and energy that we put into this, which is why this has been so incredible of a project and we have such great things to celebrate. But we've given you a lot of time today to work on your sustainability plans, but we know that it's going to take more time. We know that this is going to be a living document and you're going to continue to update it and you're continuing to learn about what needs to continue and what doesn't need and what's working and what's not. So always feel free to adjust and flex as you go. We're really just trying to find a way to set some of the groundwork so that you can continue this long term. We do have a parking lot to help us stay on track. And so any unanswered questions or topics, we'll try to get back to everybody along the way, or we'll report back on them at a later time. And so most of all, it's just to have some fun as we design our future plans together. So we're going out into our breakout groups. We're coming back in about half an hour or 35 minutes. So by 3:30. And then, like I said, we'll poke in with about 10 minutes left to get everybody started with preparing their report outs. And so we'll give you a little bit of a warning so you have some time to do that. So with that being said, we will get ourselves started moving into the different breakout groups. All right, it looks like we are all back and joined into the main room. So I hope it was a good 35 minutes. Welcome back, everyone. Melissa, I totally agree. There was not enough time nearly at all. Fully recognize that everyone is feeling pretty rushed with that. A lot of work in just 30 minutes, but I think that's part of that ongoing refinement and that commitment to continuing on with this work long term. We know that it's not a one-time thing. It's as we go through. So I also fully recognize that you may not have all of the pieces together as we go through our report out. So no pressure. So we have 12 groups that will be reporting out. So kind of 1 to 2 minutes per team, just a real quick high level, kind of what 2 activities you're going to keep doing and why, and how you're going to measure progress and ensure that those activities are sustained going forward. And if you have the ability to do something different than what another group has done, so if it's already been mentioned before, then pick something different if you have enough things on your list. So we are also going to share these sustainability plans out so that we can kind of continue working on them along the way. So I think every time we do this, we either go north-south or south-north. And so I think we're at the, we're starting north and going south this time. So I am going to pick on our Grand Prairie North Zone team to see if you can go first for us. Maybe not.
Yes,
Oh,
we are.
I see Panic looking for the mute.
Hi, this is Abby from North Zone Grand Prairie. You are currently seeing our occupational therapist, Shannon. She's waving. We're just in the same room. So 2 things that we are going to be working on further is improving our using the goal wheel and care plan for all of the clients that we have on caseload and making sure that we are updating that regularly. So in order to continue this forward, we need to meet with our entire multidisciplinary team to identify all of our barriers, get everyone's support on board, and then figure out what those barriers are and how we can review or update those care plans on an acceptable timeline. And then our second thing that we really want to touch on is designing a structured orientation for all of our new clinicians who are coming to our team. Not only orienting them to the PEDS resources, but also incorporating, getting them to go to the U of A courses online that are provided to our clinicians, as well as designing a competency checklist for pediatric dysphagia. So each of those clinicians will feel competent in what they are doing.
Awesome. Thanks very much, Abby. I think that orientation is something we've heard definitely throughout the day, so it's a great one to touch on. Okay, so the rest of the North Zone. Is Cindy, oh, Sharon's on the call?
I'm on the call, yeah. So we're a little bit unique in the rest of the North Zone just because we have, we didn't do a scorecard. We were very much, when we started this process, at very much beginning stages and even implementing pediatric feeding and swallowing. And so at least at most of our rural sites. So things that we would like to do as a general team, we'd like to encourage new and existing staff to participate in PEDS education modules to make sure that we're getting good sustainability with education. We're considering looking at quarterly meetings to discuss North Zone practice and quality improvement, and we don't have our PPLs on today, so I'm sure that that's something that we'll be discussing afterwards and hoping to set up. And ongoing client consultation and collaboration with the Glenrose installer. And I just wanted to give a shout out. I know many of the North Zone clinicians that I've spoken to have just commented on how absolutely wonderful that has been, how it's built some great networking relationships, and how much value that has given them and confidence that has given them in their practice. So it's really appreciated. And just even that continuity for families, knowing that we're all working on one team. We didn't have progress measures and things like that, but certainly we would be sustaining some of those practices already. And we are doing collaborative care meetings as well. Some of these specific to our team charter, which we're in the process of rolling out, but also where PEDS is built in, but also actual just rounds for all our complex clients. So I think that's something we would continue as well. And yeah, so we've just talked a little bit about one of our questions our team would like to take back to our leadership is just making sure that we have a good sustainability plan for competency, to make sure that we've got those plans in place for local teams. And I think some of those rounds and team charter meetings will help with that. And ongoing collaboration with tertiary sites and how valuable that's been. Yeah, so thank you for letting us present today and be part of this.
Awesome. Thanks, Sharon. It's nice to see you again. It's been a long time since I worked up in the North Zone. It's awesome. You can definitely see the themes of the education and training coming through for sure. All right, let's turn it over to the Stollery team. Amanda, do you have anything to share with us?
Sure, yeah. So our discussion kind of focused around trying to maintain timely access to services within our clinics, particularly as they kind of grow and expand. We're finding that our wait lists are also expanding. So trying to stay on top of that and manage that. We also plan to continue to use and promote the PEAS family education resources and materials that exist on the website. And then lastly, we want to really focus on continuing to deliver a high level of service to keep our patients out of hospital, out of the emergency department, and off the wards. And so we're hoping to kind of validate some of the measures that are used to track visits to emergency department and admission.
All right. Thanks, Amanda. I think we're maybe a bit of a victim of our own success. The more great work that we do, the more referrals and people that we get at our door. So keeping that access up is important. Okay, Tanis, I'm going to turn it over to you to talk about our partner home nutrition support program in Edmonton.
Yeah, so one of the activities we want to really continue to do is the patient and family feedback. And quite often we hear negative things through patient relations. So we wanted to try to use patient relations as well as a positive way to get some feedback as well. And then also looking at some surveys to see what we could maintain within the clinic. So we really want to keep that as an ongoing thing in our program. The other one we wanted to do also was our clinical practice guidelines for PEAS. So we were great at getting like our staff all trained and up in it, but what we realized is we're missing that in our new hire orientation package. So we really wanted to look at building that in, as well as making sure that we actually refresh our staff quarterly at our monthly meetings, or at our quarterly meetings that occur in our monthly meetings. Actually, we have, so every quarterly session we would then focus on CP, the clinical guidelines, and see how people are feeling about them, where they're at, to kind of making sure everyone is keeping up on it, not just our new staff. So those are two things. And the third thing we have is we actually were working with Connect Care after the last ILC in regards to the PEAS goal wheel for collaborative treatment and the goal setting plan. We're able to establish with them an algorithm at the end of June that was just put out. We haven't had the opportunity to really look at how that would work in the Connect Care system. So also kind of looking to see how that now works now that we were able to get that built into Connect Care. So kind of three things that we're kind of looking at, but similar as everyone else.
Yeah. That's incredible. Thanks, Tanis. I know that the Connect Care work will have implications across the province too. So we look forward to that for sure. All right, let's turn it over to the Glenrose team.
I think Cynthia was going to present.
Hi, I want to thank Patty for helping me out with the scribing for this, and we're pretty much doing a lot of things with like other sites. Accessibility is a focus to try to get more families in sooner, and maybe to help provide them with some support while they wait. And I know the Goodbye Mealtime Struggles is being reformulated, and that's in process. Improve our efficiency with documentation by using Connect Care smart phrases. We're working with the health improvement team and Cindy Koenig at the Glenrose to work on that, and also working on improving our effectiveness by focusing on evidence-based practice and helping to provide mentorship in the North Zone and with our other colleagues across the province so that we can improve service delivery for kids in other areas.
Awesome. Thank you, Cynthia. It's interesting to see how the same themes definitely pop up. All right, we got the Central Zone next. Christine and Nancy.
Hi, it's Nancy. I'm going to present, and I agree. We have very similar themes to that teams that have spoken already. So one of our goals is to continue using the goal wheel with families and ensuring that that's part of our practice, and also continuing to support staff and using the CPG. And so one of the plans that we talked about was the fact that our department is really focusing on goal wheels right now. It's really nice timing, so we can, link on to that and ensure that it's also being used for EFS clients. And also we realized, same as Tanis, that our PPL and team lead checklist for new hires, we need to make sure that the P's information is on there, and ensuring that the virtual training that's offered through P's is a part of those therapists that are practicing eating, feeding, and swallowing, that they need to do that as new grad, or new hire.
Thanks, Nancy. It's kind of nice when all of the stars align and your big picture strategic goals line up with all of the individual projects. Okay, let's turn it over to our ACH team, and it looks like we have Sonia, Carrie, and Louise kind of presenting together on behalf of that team.
I think it's I'm Jen. I'm going to speak for the team, if that's okay. So for us, we really discussed about continuing with the feeding care plan and really looking and ensuring we're standardized in the ways we use the feeding care plan, as we have all kind of made a bit of adjustments here and there. So coming together as a team to really ensure standardization around the care plan and continued use. And then our other area, like many's, it is continuing to look at accessibility. And so really looking at our episodes of care and how we're offering our episodes of care in order to meet the standards of getting patients in efficiently.
Right. Thanks, Jennifer. Sorry, I had you listed wrong. Okay. And Mary Ellen and Meredith, I think you are presenting on our complex airway clinic and peds home care.
I am Meredith, and that is me. We are going to focus our efforts on staying linked up to Jen and Mel and Sonia and the ACH team. So our focus that we highlighted was collaborating with ACH clinics and understanding the standardized care model coming out of there, and then placing some understanding before we put more work into maybe updating the care plan, is connecting with Edmonton group and understanding the Connect Care goals that are happening with that. And then the last one from a community practice standpoint was to continue on with our feeding rounds and our case conferences in a collaborative fashion. So again, trying to stay connected to our ACH counterparts. And then our measurements, we timed out in the middle of that one, but our conversations prior to that, we're potentially switching to a Blitz survey model. We're feeling oversaturated with surveys, and we're feeling like maybe families are getting hit from multiple places. And so trying to come alongside that way.
Yeah, that's a great plan. I just had that conversation yesterday about the 10 different surveys that are in my email right now.
Right, yeah.
All right. So let's turn it over to our PEDS community rehab team in Calgary zone.
So I feel like lots of the areas have been said, but we have really built the goal wheel into our practice, as you guys saw in our little awards at the beginning. And so really continuing to use that goal wheel for all clients, for our feeding team. And then similar to what Jen was highlighting with ACH, that timely access for not only initial appointments, but also for our follow-ups, and kind of the balance between those two types of appointments in our program, which also links into that episode of care, and kind of continuing to review that. And so to measure those, we're actually going to be moving as a full program into using the RMOC survey later this fall. And so transitioning away from the Peace Family Survey into that, to hopefully help with that saturation of surveys coming far too often. And then just that continued review of wait time data, how long, when our next available appointments are for our clinic.
Thanks, Denise. I'm really looking forward to some of the RMAC survey results and to see how that goes for sure. Okay, Sarah and Christine around our rural allied health team in Calgary zone.
Hi, Natasha. Nice to see you. Like many of the teams have mentioned, we have very similar things in our sustainability plan. We have added PEAS information into our orientation for new staff checklists so that we don't forget that. And we just did that this month because we were orienting lots of new staff. We want to continue using the goal wheel, and we have a file review process we use for all the files. So that's one of the things that we check, is make sure there's a goal wheel on file. And then ensuring that we give our staff, but also our families, the PEAS website, and making sure that that's something we direct them to during their visits as well. So.
Thanks, Sarah. I think the neatest thing for me being part of these provincial meetings is actually getting to see all the people that we've worked with and interacted with along the way. All right, last but not least, we have our Southwestern Alberta Children's Feeding and Swallowing team, our Medicine Hat team combined with them. So I will turn it over to them.
We are two separate groups. So I'm with Southwest, so I can definitely chat about our stuff. So communication has been kind of our biggest goal throughout this entire project. The structure of our group has been multiple programs. And so communication was our number one goal. So that's kind of where we're going moving forward. We want to still continue to find ways to improve communication between all of the various programs that are a part of our group. The goal wheel is one way that we've done that. We're still looking at ways to share the information back and forth, just because we all have different charting systems. We know Connect Care will come into play someday, but we're not quite there yet. And then one thing that we've kind of learned over time is that some of our programs offer very similar services. So moving forward, there might be ways for us to actually combine and join forces. So instead of multiple programs doing the same thing, we could just work together. So we've got lots of plans. We've got lots of other ideas. They all kind of go back to that idea of communication though, which will ultimately improve patient care. In terms of how we're going to track or measure our progress, we're not quite sure yet. I would say none of the tools fit exactly what we want. So I think we might have to look at some different measures that actually address the specific concerns that we have.
Fair enough. Thanks, Teresa. So you can definitely see a lot of the common themes. I'm hearing lots of things around making sure that we still maintain our accessibility, making sure our staff are prepared and knowledgeable through, meaningful, planful orientation and education, making sure that we're meeting the family needs and keeping our family surveys, as part of our decision making, using our goal wheel, and making sure that we're collaborating across our teams and working together instead of doing some of the same work. So it's pretty neat that everyone's, coming up with the same ideas, and it'll be exciting to hear those final report outs as we celebrate later on down the line. So Curtis, I will turn it over to you.
Sure, thanks. Yes, incredible work. And as I sit here and listen and think about the PEAS project overall, and how we were sort of regionalized years ago, and now we're a provincial health authority, or we've been that way for a long time. PEAS is such a great example of transformation of care and how to harness, how we've harnessed the opportunity in front of us with the provincial health authority. So kudos to all of you. It's been great to see the work and be a part of it from a distance. So well done. And we're closing out here for our day. So I want to thank you all for coming. And just lay out some next steps for you. We need you to finalize and post your sustainability plans and final report out on the SharePoint site within the next day or two. And we encourage you to use the community of practice online until we work out what the overall community of practice will look like. And thank you for your input today. Also, looking ahead, continue up with being a part of our webinars coming up and our focus groups and provider surveys. And we look forward to seeing you at the celebration and luncheon coming up in the next few months. So thanks all. Yes, special thanks to Carla for coming and Tracy for leading us through our sustainability plans. And of course, to my co-host, Natasha.
Thanks, everyone. Huge kudos out to Vanessa and Jillian for putting all of this together. I could never have done such a fancy pants slideshow, so it made it pretty fun to do all of our presentations today, so thank you.
Great. Thanks, everybody. And we'll see you at our celebratory activity coming up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great job, everyone.